This is the back block and trigger out of a TX200 Springer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to take this all apart, take the actual trigger unit apart and clean up the sears and polish them should you want to make it nice and smooth. Nice simple unit, makes a very good trigger. The first part we need to get the trigger out of the actual back block. For that there's two pins which we need to just press out. I've got my pin punchers and I can just tap them gently out. Now what I also use is a piece of wood with my holes drilled through it. There's pin number one gone. Let's get that out. And then there's a longer pin at the front there. Again, just tap that through. You can see as the unit swings free, the safety mechanism also comes loose, so we'll catch that and we'll all the way out. Okay, there's the trigger unit itself. Here is the safety mechanism and the spring. Don't forget the spring. Okay, so that's everything apart now. We can put the back block to one side. We can keep the safety mechanism and spring nice and safe, and we can start looking at the actual trigger unit itself. As you can see, there are a couple of these roll pins to remove, and 1, 2, 3 and 4 if you want to remove the front stop. More pins to remove, so let's get to that. So let's have a quick walk around this trigger. Here we've got two adjustment screws. The first one allows you to adjust the first stage to see how much travel you've got on your trigger. The second one is the screw that allows you to adjust where the trigger actually lets go. So if I just reset that, these are really nice light triggers, so they're easy to set by hand. Down here we've got a little add-on screw which allows you to put pressure on the actual feel of the trigger. If you look down there you can just see the little spring acting on that trigger lever which acts on this back sear. I'll show you all this when it's apart, but with a combination of these two screws and this pressure screw here, you can get a really nice light trigger, which of course is what you want, light but safe. So let's take it apart. I've got a couple of pin punchers. I've got the 6mm here for taking out these big roll pins, and I've got a little 2mm one here because I like it to be smaller than the actual pin for pushing these out. These normally aren't particularly tight. Like on this one I can feel the thing moving in my fingers and thumb, but I'm just going to press these out, tap them out and take the trigger apart nice and carefully. So we'll just give it a tap, and that's that sear free. Now it's still attached to the spring, as you can see there, and then we'll just grab hold of this. Naturally it's got caught in the wood, so I'll just pull that out. Okay, so I've just laid the various parts of the trigger back on top of the casing, minus of course the spring and the grub screw that applies pressure under here. If you look just under there, look, there's a little seat for the top of the spring there, and that's what gives you that that pressure onto the spring. and here you can see what happens. It's all loose, so I've got to be really careful. When you pull the trigger, that first screw starts moving the actual bottom sear, takes it almost to the release point, and it is that last screw that releases it, like so. This roll pin here stops the rear sear from just over rotating, and when you recock the gun it pushes that back down, pushes that onto there, everything resets like so. So a nice simple trigger with just the one spring internally to get the sears moving, and the little spring at the bottom here to provide the pressure on that bottom sear. First stage, second stage, just like so. So which bits do we polish? I've got to degrease all this. I've got some brake cleaner here for degreasing it. Which bits do you polish to get a nice smooth feeling? Let me just take the things apart again. Remove the roll pin. This bottom sear, the bits that need to be polished are this top edge and this edge here. Okay, on this back sear, the bits that need to be polished are quite simply, let's remove that as well with a bit of luck, this edge here and possibly this edge here, just to make the wreath going back together nice and easy. And that's it. That's all you need to do, just to get that lovely smooth finish. Now if there are any deep marks, and I would only suggest this if there's any really deep marks, you can use a lathe stone for the use of sharpening up lathe tools or something like that, just to stone it out. But these things are case hardened, so I just recommend just polishing it. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to add a little bit of polish onto these sears, just there and there, just to get it nice and smooth and shiny how you want it. Okay, I spent a little bit of time polishing these sears up, and as you can see, we've got a nice mirror finish. It's still nice and sharp on the edges, and that's important. Again there, nice mirror finish, still sharp on the edges, so we're not changing the profile in any way. So now we can start thinking about putting the thing back together. I just need to take these pins out that are left in. Now the only lubrication I'm going to use on this is a little bit of light oil, simply because I work on my triggers fairly regularly. Some people use grease and all sorts of things on them, but me, it's just going to be some light oil. Okay, now another wipe over with brake cleaner, because I don't want to get any residue, Solvol, Autosol or anything like that left in there. I want it to be nice and clean. Just taking all that time to polish the parts up, and then we can put a little wipe of fresh lube on there and go from there. Okay. Okay, away we go. So, before we start, I'll just put a drop of oil just to coat the surfaces. And I mean literally very, very sparing. And I'm just going to wipe that around with my finger, that's all, because I just want the finest film on there for what I'm doing. Okay, step one, we need to feed in this rear sear so that it goes through to the other side. Just put that one in place. that pushes through nice and simple. That side of there, and we can then put that fella in place. Like so. There we go. All is well in the world. And then we can worry about this little fella. Now, spring housing to the bottom, to the trigger side. And that can feed in from that side. There, a little bit of fiddling. I can put in our next roll pin with the middle up. Like so. So now we've got 3 out of the 4 parts of the trigger in place. Now, next part, I'm going to put my spring in and my grub screw. Just to pressure that a little bit. Okay, there we go, working as it should be. And then last of all, I can put our trigger blade back in place. Try and line that up. We go. So we can just try it now, and all works as it should. A last thing is to just insert the last roll pin, just to keep everything where it should be. And there you go, there's your trigger reassembled. Tiny bit of lube on there, working as it should. And now then, for my own happiness basically, I'm just going to put the finest wipe of more lube on there, just so everything's as I want it to be. And again, all I'm going to use is a little bit of paper rag with a little bit of oil on it, just to wipe on these surfaces, as that's all I want. I know that the insides are already oiled as I want them, and there we go, we're ready to reinsert back into the trigger block. Okay, let's reassemble this thing. We want our safety and our spring putting back into our trigger block. Like so. That all fits as it should. And then we can put in, that's cocked so it all slides in as you want it to, and then we can put in our pins. That push through nice and easy. How about this one? Give it a bit of a tap. And that's in. I'll finish that off with the pin punch so that it all fits as it should. But there we are, safety in, trigger reassembled, everything ready to go. Job done. TX200 trigger. One final test. Make sure you can cock the trigger. So, safety off. Lovely, as you want it. Again, there's your screws there for fine adjustment, but I'll put this in the gun, test it out, see how it feels, and away you go, one rebuilt trigger.